Okay guys, so this is the little folio we're going to create today. This is really simple, 6x6. It doesn't use a lot of materials. We'll walk through that next, but you can make this as a card or as a small little folio. It's a gift for someone or just for yourself, but it's really easy and quick to whip up. I'll just do a quick show and tell here. At the end of the video, after the decorating, I'll do a full walkthrough of how I decorated this one specifically, but let's look at the materials we're going to use. Hey guys, so let's go over the material that we're going to use for this little folio or card, however you want to look at it. So I have had this Craft Consortium Tell the Bees paper forever. This is a little 6x6 pad. It's absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous paper. I did use something here, as you can see, but this is going to be what I use for my card base. I also have some of the 12x12 collection kit. This one has some of the darker colors in it, so I might pick up some pieces of this, but that'll be what I decorate with. Here's just some little enamel dots, and of course you can use anything you want from your stash to do this. You will actually need very little paper to make this little album or folio or card, however again you want to look at that. In terms of basics, we're going to need 1 to 2 sheets of 12x12 craft cardstock, or whatever color you prefer. You do need 12x12 because the base consists of one piece that we're going to cut at 6x12. So make sure you have something that's wide enough. So I have 2 pieces of this craft paper that I'm going to be using. And then of course other basics are my glue, my art glitter glue, which is my favorite, and some double-sided tape and some foam dots and things like that. So without further ado, let's get started on the base of the album. So first thing we're going to do is we're essentially making 2 card bases and attaching them to each other. So we're going to be making a 6x6 card and a 4.5 by 5.5 inch card. So first, for the 6x6 card, very simple. We're just going to cut down our 12x12 paper down at 6 inches. Okay, so we'll set that aside. And then for the second piece, we're going to cut this to 5.5 inches wide. Okay, so there's your 5.5, and then turn it long ways. And I want a 4.5 inch width card, so I'm going to be cutting this at 4.5 times 2, so that's at 9 inches. Okay, all right. So we'll just set this aside for matting something. I'm sure it will come in handy. Okay, now just grab your scoreboard, and I think this is the only time we're going to use the scoreboard, so you could probably put it away after this. But we're going to go ahead and take your bigger piece and score it down the center at 6 inches. Okay, just fold that over, and then take your smaller piece and score it at 4.5 inches, just right down the center as well. Okay, so we will just fold our cards over and get like a good burnish on there, so they flip and flap nicely. All right, and so next thing we're going to do is put the base together, and this is super easy. This pocket, this essentially, take your smaller card and we're going to glue it down onto the inside of the bigger card. Okay, so that when this all sits, it will look like that. Okay, now this is going to be a pocket. So what you're going to do is turn the card so it's facing you, with the open side on the right. And what I want you to do is just put down your double-sided tape along these 3 edges. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So remember, we're leaving the open edge tape or glue free, whichever you prefer to use here. Okay. All right, so we've got my 3 sides taped up. I'm just going to pull that off. Get my little tool out. Oh my goodness, sometimes my nails can't get under the layers, and this really helps, but today I'm kind of failing on all counts. Okay. There we go. So now I'm just going to flip this over so that I've got the pocket opening here, and I'm going to adhere this to the edge of the bottom of the bigger card. So just center it so that you've got about 1/4 of an inch on each side. Okay, I'm just eyeballing it, but here I actually do have a grid glass sheet which I could be using, so maybe I'll do that. But normally I don't get too fussed, I just kind of eyeball it. And so I'm just gluing that down along the edge of the card. Okay, so this is what you end up with. I've got a little pocket right here where I can tuck some photos or something, memorabilia inside, and then this flap. So this 6x6 flap comes down, and then this will sit over the top. Now I'm just take my my scoring knife and just kind of go over these again, just because it might be bubbling a little because you've got this right up against the edge. You could, I guess, stick this out a little, like tiny smidgen further, or you can just do what I'm doing, which is just go back over it with your scoring knife and make sure everything is sitting nicely. Okay, so guys, this is it. This is the card. I think this has a name. I feel like it's called a joy card or something. So it's like, this is a bit bigger, but this style of card. But anyways, in this case, you can either send this as a card or give it as a little folio, or a card that's kind of extra. So this is the first time I've ever said this soon in a video, but we are going to start decorating this little guy. Okay guys, so I lied because there actually is one more piece we're going to add on, and that is going to be a pocket attached to the inside that we will tuck things in from this side. Okay, so this will sit here. I want you to take, you should have had this little leftover piece from when we cut the cardstock. So I want you to take this, and this will already measure 5.5 inches. So we're not going to cut it vertically. Sorry, yes, we are not going to cut it vertically, but I do want to make it, the pocket, a little bit shorter. So I'm going to cut this down to 2.25 inches. Okay, so now I've got this, which is going to be a pocket that sits right here, and I'll be able to tuck a little photo or some memorabilia in there. So I'm going to use glue this time because actually the tape I was using is a little bit wide and kind of leaving less room for me to get into the pocket. So I'm going to go ahead with the glue, but if you have some thinner tape, then go ahead and use that. So let's put the glue down on the 3 sides, like so. And this time my opening for my pocket is going to be to the right. So my unglued piece is to the right, and I'm just sticking this to the edge of this piece here. Like so. So we have a nice little pocket in here. So that gives us additional room to put some photos, etc. Okay, now we can start decorating. So I've decided that I'm going to be matting my patterned paper before I put it on top of the cardstock. So I just, couple of things. So one thing is I'm going to leave about a 1/8 of an inch border around both the base cardstock that I'm using and then my patterned paper as well. So it'll look something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and we can do this front cover together, and I'll just show you, although I'm quite sure you know what I'm doing, unless you're really new. In that case, keep watching and follow along. So I am covering this piece here, which measures 6 by 6, and I want to leave 1/8 of an inch of a border on each side. So in order to achieve that, I need to make a piece that's 1/4 of an inch shorter square on all sides. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. But what that means essentially is just take your cardstock for your base and cut it at 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. That's it. Okay, so that will, oh, it's time to change my blade. But anyways, oh, I kind of like that distressed look. So that's going to sit and give me 1/8 of an inch trim on each side. So now I cut that piece at 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. I'm going to do the same thing with my patterned paper sitting on top, except that's going to be another 1/4 of an inch smaller. So that's going to be cut down to 5 1/2 by 5 1/2. Okay, and then that will sit on top like so. Okay, the other thing I'm going to be doing is chalking all my edges. So in this case, I've got 2 Distress inks out. Gathered Twigs and Tea Dye are the 2 that I usually use. I think I'm going to go with the Gathered Twigs, but I'm going to test out what the Tea Dye could look like. It's a little bit lighter, so it just depends on the look you want to give. So there's the Tea Dye, but it's a little bit too close to my my base color. So I'm going to go ahead and chalk these up with the Gathered Twigs. So you can chalk or not chalk, up to you, but I do like it because it gives a little bit of extra dimension. And I really like using these little sponge dabbers that are replaceable, because these come right off, and you can store them like right on the back of your tin. Usually this one doesn't have it, but I usually have a little piece of Velcro here, and I just stick this right on top, and it goes into my storage bin with its matching sponge. And you can have them sort of, you don't need one for each, but perhaps like one per color family. So I find this easier. I know a lot of people are using these blender brushes, but I find these are great for blending. They're not so good for creating this chalked edge look without making a huge mess. So there's that very quickly. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of give you a flavor of how I'm putting this together, and just some little tips, especially if you're new to this and this is a pretty basic little card or folio. You might be the first time making something, so I want to make sure I cover this stuff. Otherwise, you know, you can fast forward, because next I will show you almost the completed decoration on this, because it's really, really simple and straightforward. And then a couple of other things that you can add on, for example, if you want it to stay closed or things like that. So we'll come back and show you that in a second. So one of the things that I like to add to a lot of my folios are little flaps to keep things closed. So, I mean, you could always use like a clip up here or something, but this is a really cute way to have something interactive and keep this closed. So you need, if you want to do this, you need to do this step before you stick down your patterned paper on this panel here. And this is essentially, we're going to be attaching this little tag onto this patterned paper with a brad, and it's going to swing in and out of the way to open and close the folio. Okay, so I'm just going to show you how to do that, and really all this is about is making sure you have proper placement. So I'm just holding this down where it's going to get eventually glued, and I'm going to put the flap down, and I'm going to place the tag roughly where I want it to go, and then swing out of the way. So I want it to sit about here when I'm finished decorating. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my sharp tool, and I'm just going to poke a hole through the tag, and you'll be able to hopefully get a dot right into, yes, the patterned paper. So now I can see where this needs to go through the patterned paper as well. So I'm going to poke, I'm going to keep going through that because I need the brad to go through both of these pieces. So I've got my hole poked in the tag, and I've got my hole in the patterned paper. So I'm just going to go ahead, and I've got a little brad here. I'm going to put my brad in both pieces. Okay, and so this is obviously why you do this before you glue it all down. So that's got enough room to turn and play. So you don't want it to be too tight, but also not too loose. And so I can stick down my patterned paper. Before I do it, I'm going to make sure I've got proper placement. I do. Okay. So I can go ahead and now, oops, stick down my patterned paper And this is the only one that we need for this little album because it only has one flap. But you can use this technique just about anywhere you like. But I like it because it doesn't require magnets, and it looks pretty too. So there we go. We stuck that down, and you can see how that will keep everything nice and closed. So now that we did a bit of decorating, I'm going to show you my finished product in full detail. So I started out with using some glossy accents on some of the pieces that I wanted to embellish with. So I'm not sure if you can see that here, but glossy accents is one of my favorite mediums. It's just a clear gloss that you can put on top, make things a little shiny. And so that's here on the little beehives. Then this just swings out of the way. Now for the front cover, I decided to add a bit of texture. So I had a bit of burlap. So I used that to mat my front piece down onto, as you can see that here. Of course, I've chalked some of my edges and used some little pearl, some pearl drops or little pearls that came with this kit. So this is going to be really a quick walkthrough because it's super tiny. I have a little piece of ribbon going across here, and I can put a photo or put a card down and have a sentiment here. And then we just open up this way. So here is kind of the full spread of it. And then we've got two pockets, one on this side. So I just put a little journaling card in there, or you can use this as a mat. And then on this side, another little card. And you can either write a note in here or put in photos, whatever you like. But it's super cute and easy to whip up. Like I mentioned, I'm going to give this as a special birthday card for someone's special big birthday this year. But you can use this for a little folio, or great as a teacher gift using different papers. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed that. Pop me some comments down below if you have any questions, or if there's things that you'd love to see that I haven't done yet. I'm working on some new content after taking a bit of a break. So I hope you guys are loving it. I hope you've had good times. Summer's here, and I'm really looking forward to spending some more time crafting. So we'll see you soon. Bye.